the starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, H. Fowler.
Uh-oh. What is this?
This is Off the Bench. Gonna be a silly Off the Bench. I know what you've all wanted. It's Elliot and Casey hosting today.
That's
Both
right.
Both of us.
It's a co-host today.
I think the other guys, they're all out doing stuff. And we got the text last night, hey, you guys got it by yourself. And we're like, hey, that's fine by us. We'll run this thing. Welcome on in to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. For those on the radio, welcome in as well. Wing AM, 1410, ESPN. What a great day. Casey, I'll tell you what. I woke up this morning. The sun was not shining, but I'll tell you what. I felt great. I got out of bed. I jumped in the shower, and I said, hey, today's going to be a good day. It didn't rain on the way here. There was no traffic on the way here. Sometimes when I cross this bridge in Hamilton, there's like a couple people just laying on the ground. They weren't there today. So we're just hanging out. We're just having a fun little show today. How was your morning, Casey?
My morning was fantastic.
I bet.
I got a little confession to make here.
Uh-oh.
A little confession here.
Uh-oh.
Every morning I woke up, I felt a little sad inside. You want to know why?
Why's that?
Because I just hadn't seen Joe Burrow throw a football in so long.
Sure.
I was so concerned about him and his ability to still throw darts down the middle of the field for touchdowns. And you know what? Yesterday just brought me all the way back.
Good.
We're all the way back in. I brought my old Joe Burrow pillow out, and I just snuggled it. Just was like, yes, he's here.
Casey,
he's back.
Casey, that's good news because after what that reporter did, or whoever that person was who made the lie yesterday, tough.
He's
tough.
blocked a lot of people.
He put the fan base in a tizzy, and then immediately every single fan just debunked it quickly. We're going to get into that later in the show. We'll talk about the state of reporting and how the social media reporters, man, that's getting kind of old now. People just get on social media, they think they're Ian Rappaport, and then boom, immediately it's debunked. But other than that, yeah, it was a pretty nonchalant, stress-free day yesterday. The Reds were not playing, but we got through it. I didn't really watch any sports, if I'm going to be honest. Yesterday, I got home, I took a nap, and then after that, I watched the end of the Knicks game, Pacers game. But that was it. We're going to go through some headlines here in a second, but I wanted to say right off the bat, there was a lot of talk about Sam Moll yesterday. We're going to discuss that at some point today. We've got a buy or sell for you today. We're going to have some positivity on the show. Nick Kirby will be joining me in a second, and Casey they'll be joining us at around 11:15. Hopefully he can sway my mind on some things. But that's it. We've got a decent show for you today.
Yeah. So stick around, hang out with us.
Yeah.
And
let's get silly.
Have a good day.
If I bring up some silly things, you're gonna have to get used to it. I'm not a big J journalist. I can't talk only about sports for 2 straight hours. So we're gonna get silly. But speaking of sports, let's do some headlines now.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's kick things off with, of course, the Reds. They were off yesterday, but they announced Sam Moll was heading down to AAA. There will be a corresponding roster move today. We can only assume that'll be Frankie Montas. And if that is true, the Reds can only have 13 pitchers on a roster. He was one of the 3 guys with options.
Did you agree with that decision, Casey?
I don't know, man. I mean, he had a 0 ERA.
That's correct.
How many innings was it?
Well, in his last 25 innings pitched for the Reds, that's since August 13th of last year, he has allowed 0 runs.
I mean, that's
in
ridiculous.
5 innings this year, he's allowed 0 runs.
And Sam Moll was supposed to be like that reliever that was, left-handed, right?
Correct. He's a left-handed guy. They traded for him last year. That's correct.
We traded for him last year, and
at the deadline, yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there's other options there, but we'll talk about that more here.
That's correct.
Coming up.
That's correct.
Around the league, Dodgers beat the Marlins 6-3, but the story of the game is Shohei Ohtani hitting his 4th home run in 3 days. It's Shohei business, as usual. The Rangers gained some distance from the Athletics as they win yesterday 4-2 over Oakland. Brandon Nimmo for the Mets hit the go-ahead home run in the 7th, which would stick until the end of the game. Mets win 4-3 over the Cardinals. Twins have won 13 out of 14 and got back to their winning ways last night, winning over the Mariners 3-1. Padres beat the Cubs 6-3.
There we go.
Oh,
there
that's
we
some
go.
great news. That's
there
some
we
great
go.
news. Justin Steele went 4 2/3 innings, giving up 3 hits and 2 strikeouts, but not allowing any runs. Every game Milwaukee plays in is close and low scoring, but the Brewers fall to the Royals 3-2 last night.
There we go.
The Rays are looking to get the revenge over the White Sox after Chicago swept them 2 weeks ago. They won 8-2 last night. The Pirates beat the Angels 4-1. The Angels have 3 wins in their last 18 games. That's pretty pathetic, but I can't say much about the Reds here either. Guardians beat the Tigers 2-1. Phillies win 6-1 over the Giants as Bryce Harper hits his 8th home run of the season and has now homered in back-to-back games. Cool stuff there. Let's jump over to the NBA, the playoffs. Jalen Brunson has now scored 40 in 4 straight games.
Jalen Brunson's a superstar. I was following the Mavericks when he was there. I like Luka a lot, and I like Jalen Brunson. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he is now. I think Reed keeps bringing up, is he better than Carmelo Anthony? I don't know if he's better than prime Carmelo Anthony, but Jalen Brunson is incredible, absolutely incredible. He is quite honestly, he's the only player they have. He's the only player they have. Last night, I think Dante DiVincenzo was the 2nd leading scorer. If they don't have Jalen Brunson, they don't win any games whatsoever. So that guy carrying the New York Knicks, a franchise that's been begging for some postseason success, I don't know. I don't think he'll ever have to buy a beer in New York if he keeps this up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was somewhat of a joke that, the ESPN headlines a couple days ago is Jalen Brunson better than Melo Anthony?
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of funny. I love Carmelo Anthony growing up, and I thought, I think very highly of Jalen Brunson too. I don't know if he's there yet. If he continues to win, right? If they make it to even like a finals, he's right there with Carmelo Anthony. I don't think there's anything that you can really say to debunk that, to be honest with you. But anyways, referees took over that game with a questionable illegal screen call. The final score, 121-117. Halliburton only contributed 6 points on 6 shots in 36 minutes. That's tough. That's really bad. Knicks lead the series 1-0. Timberwolves, they lead their series 2-0.
I saw this as well.
After obliterating the Nuggets. I mean, that's crazy. I was talking to my brother-in-law about this a couple days ago. I think it was on Saturday. And we kind of talked about how we thought that this series is going to be the determined winner of the West, I believe it is.
Sure, yeah.
I love Cat. I love Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves, to me, were on a roll, and then they kind of let up at the end of the season, and they kind of gave up that number 1 seed.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they're proving it. They're proving why I think that they're going to win the whole thing, and to be honest with you, I mean, the combination of those two, and then I forget the center's name.
Are you talking about Rudy Gobert?
Yeah, Gobert is a monster.
He is a monster. He was out yesterday due to the birth of his child, so they won that game.
They still won.
They won that game by 30 points without Rudy Gobert. Yeah,
Impressive.
I think when usually there's a little bit of a hangover. Obviously, you had the Warriors win 3 in a row or 2 in a row or whatever, 3 out of 4. Whatever the Warriors did, that's pretty unprecedented. I think the Nuggets are a good team, but I do think it's the Jamal Murray-Jokic show. And if those two aren't on, or if they're not scoring 30 points, 25-plus points, there's probably a 0% chance they win the game. I know that's not a hot take saying if the best player doesn't play well, but it's true. I think it's a little bit similar to the Jalen Brunson in New York. If Jokic isn't on, they don't have a chance whatsoever. If they minimize his damage, just they're out of it. They're out of the game whatsoever. So shout out to the Timberwolves. 2-0. 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, looking forward to the rest of that series. Let's see here. Just wrapping that up. They are heading to Minnesota, and that'll be an interesting.
Dropping both games at home is brutal as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a way to start that series whatsoever.
Nope.
Let's jump over to the NHL. The Bruins, they take the lead 1-0 in the series, winning 5-1 over the Panthers last night. Bruins goalie Jeremy Swayman made 38 saves.
That's right, baby.
That's crazy. And later tonight, your Dallas Stars, Ewan Reed's Dallas Stars versus my Avalanche, the natural disasters.
Will you? What time is that game? Do we know what time that game is?
9:30.
9:30. Will you be tuning in?
I will be tuning in. I hope we just shoot text back and forth, taking jabs at each other.
So
hope.
I'll tell you what. The plan is for me right now to go to a Reds game tonight. I was going to go. We're going with about 15 guys. It was going to be a whole lot of fun. It's supposed to rain tonight. I don't know if the rain's going to stick or not. Obviously, this weekend there were rain delays, even though it didn't rain at all, which is another thing I like. I mean, the MLB is such a joke with some of this stuff. The weather delay, rain delay policies, absolutely terrible. It's absolutely terrible. The fact that you don't get just a free voucher for missing the games immediately. Instead, you get to pick whatever game you want. Instead, you just get to go to some random game in like September 13th. You're going to this game. It's a business day special. It's a doubleheader. It's nonsense. It's absolutely preposterous. It's outrageous. I'm hoping the game does not get delayed tonight. That is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping the game does not get delayed tonight. I saw my good friend Austin Elmore, he tweeted out, maybe it would be good. Maybe it would be good for the Reds to have another rain delay. At some point, the off days aren't going to help either. It's you have to get in the box, you have to swing a bat, and the offense has been terrible. I don't think any off day is going to fix it. I think right now you just got to fight through it. I don't know how on earth every single guy is slumping all at the same time, but that's certainly the way it looks. And I think the only way to fight through it is to get back in the box and battle every night and try to fight through it. I don't think it's going to work having to sit in your butt and just have off days left and right.
Yeah, I mean, they desperately need to just find some sort of groove to get some momentum forward. That's what it really boils down to, in my opinion. I think they've just let the momentum swing the other way too far, and it's gotten out of hand at this point. If they're going to do it, like, they need to do it now against a Diamondbacks team that's been kind of struggling to start their year. And I know we'll talk about it a little more here coming up. A couple other things before we jump over into that next segment, into more Reds talk. Met Gala was yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah, and let me tell you.
The Met Gala is what? What are we celebrating for the Met Gala? What is that?
I genuinely have no idea. It's like a...
I know it's a fashion show.
Yeah, it's a fashion show.
But, like, is there, like, a reason? Is it, like, it's like a pre-Oscars thing? But I know the Oscars already happened, so what the hell is it for?
I have no clue, to be honest with you. But I did want to say a couple different things about it. One, if you've never seen it, if you've never checked it out before, it is actually very interesting. Like, yesterday, there was a dress that someone wore that was all mechanical. And it had, like, wings. Yeah. And it just, like, spread open on their arms. That was really, really cool. I don't know if anyone else saw that. And then the athletes that go there, sometimes, they're just wearing.
Was Burrow there?
No, Burrow was not there.
Burrow was not there?
He was throwing the football.
That's right.
He was throwing the football here at Paycor.
But,
like, some of the athletes, like Ben Simmons wearing this giant, like, suit with a giant clock on it.
See, now that's nonsense. And especially from a guy, I'm glad he was healthy enough to show up to the Met Gala. He's never healthy enough to play basketball.
Right. But, like, it's just kind of interesting to see what some of these people wear.
That is interesting. By the way, Everett puts in the chat, Elliot, what does he say? Elliot eats out 5 times a week. He goes to the Reds game 10 times, and he golfs a lot. He has no reason to complain about money. I don't think I've complained about money. I don't think I ever did. I could be wrong.
I don't remember when you complained.
I don't think I did either. So, Everett, you can stick that where the sun don't shine. And that's it. and that's going to be it for this first segment right here on 1410 Wing AM ESPN Dayton. All right, here we go. Back in. Welcome back in. Segment number 2. What a show this is going to be. What an absolutely spectacular show this is going to be. We have lined up for you. I wanted to talk about Reds. I know nobody wants to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. By the way, Evan said he did want to call in at some point. I don't know if the phone lines will be open, But
you tell me when you want to open them up.
well, you can open them right now.
I'll open them up.
So
right
if
now.
Evan wants to call in, he can feel free to do that.
Don't
Go ahead.
The one thing I will say, don't you all dare curse on this show.
Yeah, no cursing's allowed.
No cursing when I host these phone calls because I just
No cursing is allowed.
I don't want to have to go back and edit this. So
Sam Moll was optioned yesterday. I made a couple jokes on Twitter because I think it's funny. I think it's almost ironic a little bit that in Major League Baseball you can have a guy with a 0 ERA. He hasn't allowed a run in 25 innings. He's not good enough to be on the roster right now. But you have a guy like Bubba Thompson who doesn't play, continually stay on the roster. I just think it's ironic. That's all. The Reds, looking back on it through this lens of hindsight, they didn't have another move, really. I can recognize that. It was either that or get rid of Lucas Sims, get rid of Buck Farmer, or send down Cruz or Diaz. That was your options. And they weren't going to do any of those things. I could have made the argument that Lucas Sims' tenure in Cincinnati has dried out, in my humble opinion. I don't think Lucas Sims is a great pitcher. Saying that, I'm not unaware to this Reds front office. I'm not unaware to how they run their business. And how they run their business is if they owe guys a decent amount of money, they're going to keep them on the team. You just signed Buck Farmer. You just signed Buck Farmer this offseason. He has a 3 ERA. He's pitching decent. I don't trust Buck Farmer when he comes into the game, but he's pitching decent. How is it fair to Buck Farmer to cut him outright when he doesn't have any options? They had 3 guys with options. When you call up Frankie Montas, somebody had to go down or get cut. It doesn't make sense to cut anybody. It doesn't make sense to send anybody down. You already have a healthy left-handed pitcher in Justin Wilson who's been pitching great. And I imagine that factored into this decision as well. Sam Moll is coming back from an injury. I understand all of it. I just think to put the Reds in this position where arguably the team is now worse because of it, I don't think anybody can sit here and say the Reds are better by sending Sam Moll down. The Reds bullpen is worse losing a guy with a 0 ERA, a guy that's been very effective, as a guy who's only given up 2 runs as a Red. You're not better off because of that. You're not better off for it. So if that's the case, you sit back, you think about it, and you say, you either have the best roster on the field or you don't. And I'd make the argument without Sam Moll, this is not the Reds' best roster currently. I think Tony Santillan's pitched great in AAA. I think Tony Santillan's a guy that could come up right now. But there's no room for him, so I understand it. Sam Moll is pitching great. He's already on the team. He's on the big league roster. I don't fully understand sending him down right now. I get it. I get it. I get the rationale. But I feel like if this is a temporary solution, and by all means, that's what they probably intended. I think Bryce Spalding tweeted it out. Somebody's going to get hurt. Something's going to go wrong. And when that happens, Sam Moll's going to come up. I bet that's within 2 weeks. Sam Moll will be back on the big league roster. So this isn't a freak out decision. I was causing a little bit of chaos on X.com. I was trying to rile up some of the Reds fans. But this isn't a big deal. Sam Moll is a very good pitcher, but let's be very clear, he doesn't face right-handed hitting. He comes in to face lefties. And that could be 1 inning at a time every 4 days or so, 3 days. He doesn't pitch as consistently or as much volume as a Nick Martinez, as a Suter. He doesn't do that. That's not his role. So, looking back on it, you can survive with Justin Wilson as your left-handed pitcher, and you can survive without Sam Moll there. You don't need Sam Moll right now. And if something goes wrong, you can bring him up. I just look back at it, and I think it's funny to this sport when you make the roster sizes. You eat 13 batters, 13 pitchers. 13 batters, 13 pitchers. And not always is your best 13 available. I think Sam Moll is one of the best 13 pitchers. He's not up right now because of the situation the Reds are currently in. And that's what happens when you have good pitching, too. That's the other part of this season where Reds fans are freaking out, and rightfully so. We'll talk about the offense later on. But pitching's been great. Pitching has been absolutely phenomenal. Everybody was calling for the head of Alexis Diaz. Alexis Diaz has pitched great. He had one bad game, I'd argue. He's pitched in one bad game. I know the walks have not been great, and that goes with Lucas Sims as well. Lucas Sims is another guy I don't particularly trust on the staff, but he's been here a long time. He's proven that he can do it. If he's on, he's arguably one of the best pitchers in the bullpen. Saying all that, it doesn't make sense to cut guys. It doesn't make sense to send down our closer. It doesn't make sense to send down Fernando Cruz because he gave up a grand slam in his last game, in a game where really there was no chance to win it anyway because the offense doesn't show up.
Yeah.
I'm looking back at it with this lens of trying to be somewhat realistic, trying to be somewhat optimistic, and understanding the situation the Reds are currently in. This isn't a disaster. This isn't the Reds' season isn't over. We're in what's the day, Casey? May 7th?
Yep.
This isn't a big deal. Nate in the chat says, but Diaz's ERA is 6.5. He sucks. Here's the thing about relievers' ERAs in May. It's not a lot of volume to work with. You can sit back and say Alexis Diaz hasn't had the best season, and you can certainly make that argument. But I'd argue, let's not freak out over guys on May 7th. Sirboy says, oh no, Elliot, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, the way I would describe the move after hearing all the discussion surrounding it, like they didn't have a choice, right? Like this is what you do to be able to keep windows open, to keep your options available, and not just get rid of guys that are doing well on your ball club. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I know people pointed out Alexis Diaz's ERA, and it's just like he had 2 bad games in May, and other than that, he's been fantastic. Like,
yeah,
let's calm down with that nonsense. So you just brought out Fernando Cruz and the Grand Slam thing. Like, yeah, like let's chill out a little bit, people. Like some of these games, like I said before at the beginning of the show, the momentum has been so bad for the Reds. Like I kind of I'm giving these instances a pass, right? The ERA stuff for these pitchers are just not indicative of how they really are playing this season. And then on top of that, to me, it feels like they're trying their best to continue to win, right? Let's say that they were in a different spot, right? They were well below 500.
Sure.
Like 10 games below 500.
Sure.
You think they're still keeping Sam Moll there?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe because at that point something has had to go on wrong, and if Buck Farmer had that situation's vastly different.
Yeah. So it's a completely different situation. If they were up by 10 games, they wouldn't be keeping him still
correct.
there.
Correct.
Right? So
he would still be sent down. Yeah.
Like that. That's my point. Is that I feel like they're still trying. Clearly, they're still trying to win ball games. They're just in a spot where it makes it portrayed where they're not. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. And I understand. Nate wanted me to clarify that his comment wasn't serious. I knew that, Nate. I knew your comment wasn't serious. I just find it funny how you have guys freaking out all over the place on X.com over ERA and what is it, May 7th? It's just not the time yet. It's not yet. There's a time for all this freak out to happen. And my date is the deadline, by the trade deadline. If this is all falling apart, if we're 20 games below 500, if we're 15 games below 500, the offense still hasn't come back, that's when you can start having a little bit of worry. But it all comes back to expectations. We talk about the expectations with the Cincinnati Bengals. The expectations couldn't have been higher coming into this past season. Burrow goes down, you play the world's toughest schedule, and you're disappointed. The Reds had arguably one of the more fun seasons in my 24 years of life last year. You come into this year with all this young talent, and they're letting you down, per se. They're 2 games under 500. The offense hasn't come together yet. It's early. There's no need to freak out. We have a call?
Yep.
We have a call. All right. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, Elliot. I just wanted to say sorry for the money comment. Wasn't trying to strike a chord there, buddy.
Is this Everett?
This is Everett.
Yeah.
Everett. Are you at work right now?
I'm actually working from home since.
There we go.
Hence the reason why I'm able to call. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Everett money shamed me, Casey. It's really disappointing. I don't think I flaunt this money in front of anybody's face. If I go to the free food section several times in a week, I'm going to make a big deal about it.
If anything, I'm just completely jealous. I haven't been to a Reds game in over a year, obviously.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
And you get to, hey, man, you have a kid, it just, your priorities change. So, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But
that's fair.
I just want you, yeah. I think if I would have said that, not over text, it would have came off a little bit better. So I just wanted to apologize. wasn't trying to have another Tom situation, So,
That's okay, Everett. That's okay, Everett.
Yeah.
Everett, what do you got? Are you sad about the Reds, Everett? Are you freaking out about the Reds yet?
No, I'm not. Yeah, did I expect their offense to be a little better? But no, I'm not sad. Unfortunately, being a Reds fan for the last 34 years, like I have, you kind of go through these patches of really high highs and really low lows. So
yeah.
I'd say this is about the middle.
That's fair.
About in the middle.
All right.
Hopefully they can figure it out. What's your prediction for the next 3 games?
Next 3 games, I'm going to predict a series loss.
No.
I think they win. I think they win a game. I think they win a game at some point.
Okay.
But I can't predict wins when the offense doesn't show up whatsoever. Before I let you go, Everett, I drive through your hometown of Ross every day. Can you tell them to clean it up?
Ain't it?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful up until I have to hit all these traffic. Now they've got some sort of, I don't know if you've seen this yet, driving into Hamilton through Ross. They now have a makeshift traffic light. I don't know when that's going to go into effect, but that's going to make my 45-minute commute even worse now. If you could tell them to stop that would be great.
I'll do my best. I tried to give you an alternate route last week. I know Molly did too.
But that
try
route
that
also,
out.
That route also has traffic though. That's the issue. That one
Yeah,
has
it's almost like when you travel during rush hour. There's traffic everywhere, man. I don't know. I don't know. I'll do my best to clear it up for you, buddy.
Thank you, Everett. Thanks for calling, buddy. Thank you.
No problem, man. Have a good one. See you, Casey.
Yeah,
Bye.
see you, Everett.
See you, buddy.
So we will go to break. We'll get to the next caller here after the break.
And that is how you end a segment, Casey. Good work, because I would have lost track of time there. Wing AM 1410, ESPN Dayton, the best sports coverage in the Miami Valley. We'll come back in a little bit. And welcome back in. Chatterbox Sports, off the bench. This is not Trace Fowler. This is not Tom Brenneman. This is not Reed Mouse. This is Elliot, and that's Casey.
That's right. This is me.
We are starting this segment. By the way, massive fly in the studio. Massive fly in the studio.
It's been around for like a week.
Yeah, it hasn't died yet, and I'm trying to think if I can throw something at it. Maybe this chicken. If you're listening on the radio, we got a chicken in the studio. Maybe we can throw that at it. But yeah, that's tough. Casey, we got another caller on the line.
Yeah, we do. And just to remind the listeners, we were talking about the Reds. We were talking about Sam Moll and the decision to drop him down to AAA. So let's bring in our next caller.
Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's PB's Ghost calling in from warm and cheerful Centerville.
There we go. PB, your voice sounds beautiful this morning. Beautiful.
Well, thank you.
You got that.
Someday maybe I'll do some promos for you.
Please do. You got that beautiful bass sound. I like that. PB, I don't know if you know this. I was one of the coolest kids in high school. I was in the Glee Club, and we had a guy that sounded like you back then. He was like 14 years old, and he had your voice. It was one of the more outrageous things I've ever heard in my entire life. But saying that, if we ever need help in the Glee Club, we can use that beautiful baritone you have there.
Well, thank you. I was about the same age, 14 or so. I'm like you. I'm not in agreement with Sam Moll. I understand the move, but I mean, he was one of the better bullpen pitchers. I'm trying not to be like Trace and be sullen and morose every time we lose, but we've got to get rid of Martini and Bubba Thompson. There's just not room for them on this roster. There's got to be somebody else that you can put in at DH and play them that's going to be a more viable person to get a base hit. I mean, Martini, if he does anything, he pops out to first base most of the time.
Yep. Yeah, I think here the crux of the issue is when the MLB made these roster rules, you can't have 13. You have to have 13 pitchers. You have to have 13 batters. So I would have loved to have the ability to keep Moll up and send Martini down, or Bubba Thompson. And again, Bubba Thompson, it's just a guy who doesn't play. Trace did say it yesterday, and I think he's correct. Bubba Thompson will not be on the team as of Friday. They're going to make a move. TJ Friedel hopefully is going to be up, and that'll solve that issue. But your point with Nick Martini is 100% correct. I don't understand it, and I can't fathom why this front office can sit there and look at Nick Martini occupy a roster spot, not get hits, play bad defense, and play against lefties when he can't hit lefties. I'll never understand it, and I don't know how Nick Krall sits there and he's like, you know what? Instead of trying to make a move, this sounds good to me. We're going to stay still, and we're just going to watch the madness unfold. That is the sign of somebody who shouldn't be in the position they're in. And again, I think Nick Krall's done a great job. To put the Reds in this position where we have a young group of guys that are competitive, that makes this team competitive, that brings fans back into the ballpark, that's awesome. But eventually, you're going to have to make a move that helps this team. And you're not making it. You're standing pat, and I'll never understand it. I agree with you. Nick Martini should not be a Cincinnati Red. He should be sent down or waived or whatever the issue is with him. Get rid of him. Bring somebody up that can play. And if there is nobody to call up, and that's going to be the argument with a lot of these fans, these analytic fans, then fine, go out and sign somebody. There are free agents that don't cost money. I'd rather have Will Myers. Will Myers is a free agent. Will Myers can't play baseball. I'd rather have Will Myers up than Nick Martini. Nick Martini offers me nothing.
Well, right. And, well, I mean, a couple of years ago during the pandemic, they had a guy that was on their roster that was just a perennial journeyman, but he was a hitter. I can't remember what his name was, but they put him in at DH when they first had the DH during the pandemic, and he was hitting home run. I think his name was Davidson.
Matt Davidson, yeah.
Yeah. I had no problem with him as a designated hitter. He had pop. He hit about 250. There are guys out there that you can find that are better than what Nick Martini has been doing for the last month and a half.
I agree with you, and if there aren't guys you can find, which me and you both agree that there are, even if you go out and try, if you go out and make an effort to sign somebody here, that shows to me that, hey, you're awake. And right now it seems like he's general managing this team, and even though I don't think he's the general manager, technically he's the president of baseball ops, it seems to me like you're asleep at the wheel. Because clearly this line, when you're dead last in batting average and almost dead last in every other offensive category, clearly something's not working. There needs to make a change. PB, thank you very much for this phone call. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is one thing that I was going to bring up that we talked about a little bit. Do you think that Emilio Pagan, even though they owe him a significant amount of money, like if you dropped him, is anyone actually going to pick him up? Do you think anyone would claim him off of waivers? Like
Emilio Pagan's an interesting one because I do think somebody would take Emilio Pagan. I think Emilio Pagan, you can't really overreact to what he's done. He's been bad. He hasn't been good. I haven't trusted what I've seen in Emilio Pagan. Saying that, if you put him on waivers, you gave him somebody else the chance to take him, I think they'd take him. He was a good free agent coming into this year, so yeah, I would think somebody would take him. We have another call.
We got one more caller.
Another call. Caller, where are you calling from? What's your name, buddy?
It's Big C. What's up?
Big C, how we doing, Viking man?
Man, it's been a rough going. Like listening to the Reds all the time, and man, I hope we turn things around. I have a feeling we will.
I have a feeling we will too. But the issue with me right now is that what I'm seeing from the offensive side of the baseball is not just a slump. It seems like it could be here to stay for a little bit because I think there's some of these guys, CES was due for a little bit of regression. Spencer Steer was due for a little bit of regression, in my opinion. I think coming into this year, we thought they were so good. All these rookies, these young guys, you don't hit the lottery every single time. You hit the lottery with Elly De La Cruz. You can't expect to hit the lottery with every single young guy that comes up for this team. And right now, I'm starting to believe that guys like Will Benson, guys like CES, maybe they're not the guys we thought they were. Maybe they're not the everyday player that last year gave us the belief that they could be. But what's your question for me, Big C? Give me a question. Give me a good one.
Well, actually, it's kind of like I've kind of been out in the dark lately. So like,
yeah.
When does TJ Friedl come back? Is that like soon?
It should be. I'm hoping it's this week. There's no set date for when TJ Friedl is coming back, but he's been playing in AAA. My hope is that TJ Friedl will be available at some point this week, and at the very latest next week. And at that point, Bubba Thompson would be gone, and TJ Friedl would join the roster.
Well, let me follow up that question with a question. Now, if he comes back, do you think that he possibly can spark that Reds fire that we need to get everybody going?
I think the answer is yes for the short term. I think yes for the short term. He's another guy that I do feel like might regress this season. But the Reds have been doing the same thing over and over again, and as everybody knows, the definition of insanity is doing that and expecting things to change. You can't do the same thing and expect things to change. It doesn't work. It's insanity. So I do think having a guy like TJ Friedl, who's able to drop a bunt, get on base, he's not hitting into double plays, having a guy like him in the outfield, I think having his presence just alone in the clubhouse, having somebody else there, I think that alone will help a little bit spark this offense. Yes. I do think so. Well, do I think he's going to be an all-star? Yeah. Maybe not. I think he's good enough right now to help this offense in the short term.
Well, I also believe like he was like a huge cheerleader on the on the bench too. So like just having him there, like cheering guys on, like I feel like you need that. Like I think you guys like have touched that. I think on the Red show and stuff. So like, yeah. I believe, in my opinion, I think he will spark that Reds fire that we need, and I think it'll turn around, man. I'm a very optimistic person, but at the same time, I don't know. The Reds have been breaking my heart lately, and thankfully I've been working very, very like substantial hours lately, so I haven't really been like that heartbroken, but.
Listen, that's good. And I have no knock on the optimistic fans. Every once in a while they get on my nerve. But listen, I have no issue with sitting there and believing that this team can come back and not overreacting to a 2-game under 500 record on May 7th. That's perfectly fine. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think we gave them too big of a too. I forgot what I was about to say. It's like too big of like crap.
You're
My
good.
Bad.
That's okay. Listen,
I do this all the time if you hang around.
Hey, try not to work too much. Go try to find your way back to the ballpark. The Reds need some help. They need all the help they can get back there. So thank you for calling in, Big C. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome. All right, bye.
See you, buddy.
Here's one other thing, too, about this particular series. I mean, they're playing a team that, yes, they hit the cover off the ball. I mean, they're really good offensively. But their pitching has not been great. I think they're bottom third in just about every pitching category, ERA, WHIP. That, to me, like that makes this series very important for the Reds to get back on track. Like, if they can't get back on track in this series, if they can't start getting some hits, getting some runs in, showing some signs of life, even if they do get, like, if they don't win the series, it's not the end of the world. But if they at least show signs of life that they're not abysmal offensively, like, that's all we can really ask for at this point. I think that they can do it. It would be nice if we had TJ Friedl for this series to kind of, like, see what we have there.
Yeah. But, and I think before we go to that call, I think I'm going to take him after the break. Because you mentioned what they were. They're 22nd in ERA. They're 22nd in WHIP. 24th in batting average against. The Reds coming in to this series, they've played, I don't know what the total number of games is. They've played 13 games versus teams with a top 8 ERA in baseball. They've played 19 games against teams with a top 12 ERA in baseball. The Reds have been playing a gauntlet of pitching staffs night after night after night. And I do think the inability to hit left-handed pitching is deadly. And I think teams are probably hoping they get the Reds when they have two lefties going back-to-back or 2 times in a series, because that's your best chance to strike against the Cincinnati Reds. That's just a fact. But I think coming in to this series, the Reds are just hoping to score some runs. I don't even know. I don't really care if the pitching goes to hell. It goes to hell in a handbasket. I don't care. If that's what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. I just want to see my bats wake up. I have a hard time believing they can be this poor offensively throughout an entire season. So I just want to see that. This is the series. That's a good point by you. This is the series to do it. Because if you struggle this series against a team that hasn't pitched all that well, I don't know. I don't know then.
It's not looking good.
It's not looking good then. It's about time for a break, Casey, I think. I think that's right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take a break. ESPN Dayton, best sports coverage in the Miami Valley. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be right back. Right here on ESPN 1410 Wing AM. And we're back. Welcome on in. By the way, if you're listening on your car or phone, radio, whatever app you're listening to right now, check us out on YouTube. We do have a YouTube show. We've got a chat that I love very much, and they're very, very funny. They're an avid part of this show. I'm going to shout out a couple of them right now. Sir Boy, Roger, CJ, Nate, Mark, John, PB, Molly, Colton. All these guys, all these girls, they help us out. RM, thank you very much. Max, thank you very much. Logan, thank you very much. Everybody who participates, Everett, Alex, everybody who participates in this chat, Evan even. Thank you guys very much for doing this. We would not have a show if you guys weren't in the chat every day. So if you're on the radio looking for a different kind of experience, there's people to interact with, and they're the best people in the world. So thank you everybody who's tuned in. If I didn't shout out anybody, I'm just reading from today's chat, so don't hate me. Craig, I know Craig's here too sometimes. Craig, there's Craig. So we got Joe Cool, want to talk football, LOL. But yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for tuning into this show. We do have a phone call. Speaking of the chat, I believe we've got another chatter calling in. So chatter, who are you? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, this is Kermit the Frog.
So I had a feeling this was going to be stupid, and by God, I was right. Kermit, Kermit, are you a big Reds fan?
Yeah, I've got an important question. Listen, I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of Reds this year. I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of Reds. I've been educating on Sesame Street, singing songs with the Muppets, and taking Miss Piggy out for dinner, so I haven't been able to catch the Reds a whole lot. I was told before the season that a Mr. Christian Encarnacion Strand was going to hit 40 home runs. I would like an update on how he's hitting this year. Is he well on his way to 40, or is he going to be the second round ever to hit 50?
Christian, he's not on pace. He is unfortunately not on pace, Kermit. I think he's got 2 home runs on the year. He's got almost a -1 WAR. Is that good, Kermit?
Well, at least one of the home runs was a walk-off job. That'll give you a memory. Christian Encarnacion Strand. Also, I was listening to the show earlier. You were talking about how the Reds have been playing a gauntlet of pitching. Do you think that maybe it's because they're hitting so bad that the opposing teams have better pitching numbers? I don't know.
Listen, Kermit, you can certainly sway your narrative to whichever way you want. Kermit, I got one last question before I let you go, and thank you for this very serious sports phone call. If you had to rank the Reds, if you had to rank your favorite Reds fan base members, who would they be? Who are your top 3?
Well, as you know, Miss Piggy's a big Reds fan. She just oinks every time that we go down to Great American Ballpark. So she's number 1. If I didn't say she was number 1, then I think she would break up with me. So instead, I say Miss Piggy 1, And then I'm going to say Miss Piggy 1 and Big Bird. Big Bird's number 2. Big Bird, he loves himself some Cincinnati Reds baseball. I keep telling him, hey, one day we're going to win it all, and he's,
Thanks, Kermit. I imagine your voice is getting pretty tired of that voice for, 3 minutes now? So thanks, Kermit. Thanks for calling in, pal.
See ya. Bye.
I think that'll be all for the calls for now.
Yeah, if that coward Evan wants to call in, he can call in too. But we'll close them down for now. We'll just talk some Reds ball. Thank you, Kermit, for calling in. Anybody on the radio who just had to listen to that, that was our good friend Kermit. You might know him from The Muppet Show. The Muppet Show is a cinematic classic. And by the way, Casey, I see this is where I'm trying to navigate the time. And I know we're off on the time a little bit, maybe by a couple minutes.
Yep.
I don't know when this segment started, when Kermit started to call in. So
We're 5 minutes in.
Okay. That's good. You got to keep track of that because I'm starting to forget at some points. But yeah, Kermit was right. I think Kermit was right a little bit. Certainly the Reds struggling at the plate is boosting the pitching numbers of opponents. That's a fair point. That's a fair point by avid listener Kermit.
Yeah, but we're a month into it. Like we've got enough substantial data it's not going to swing it by half the league. It's going to go up by 3 or 4 teams maybe. Mm-hmm. But again, like the Reds have not been great. I mean, the guys that we're depending on have not been hitting, so there is a point to that. I understand that. Yeah, I mean, I understand Kermit where he's coming from, but at the same time, it has been a gauntlet. It's been tough. Like I think 2 things can be true.
I think that's a fair point too. I think you can play a tough schedule and acknowledge that. The Reds have played playoff team after playoff team for the past week and a half or so. You played the Rangers, and I think that was a winnable series. But you played you can come in. Yeah, by the way, welcome into the show now, Reed Mouse. Reed Mouse is in the show. Reed, your friend Kermit called in.
Who called it?
Kermit, your good friend Kermit.
I know Kermit the Frog.
Yeah. Hi-ho. Hi-ho.
I don't get it.
Thanks, Reed. You play the Phillies, you play the Rangers, you play the Padres, you play the Orioles. You're playing the Diamondbacks now. I think the Diamondbacks are similar to the Reds. Again, Reed might say that the Reds aren't close to the Diamondbacks. I think, again, the Reds, if healthy, are competitive with most teams in Major League Baseball. That's just how I think of it. And this is a series you need to win. I'm not going to say you have to win it, but it's almost a must-win. I think there's going to be a buy or sell on that later in the show because I do believe that if you can't beat a pitching staff that's bottom 10 in every statistical category, I don't know if you're ever going to come back from that. I don't know if you're going to come back because I don't believe it. I'm going to believe when I see it. That kid from the Polar Express, he didn't believe it until he saw it. He had to eventually believe. At the end of the movie, when he had the hole in his pocket and all that nonsense, he believed. I'm not there at the belief train yet. I don't have enough reason to believe in the Cincinnati Reds yet. I'm almost there. I can feel it. They keep pulling me back in, but I'm not there yet. We have a super chat.
$10 super chat from Big C. What I meant to say before fumbling my words is I think that we gave these guys a way bigger expectation than what they could pull off. I believe last year was magical, but also lucky. They'll get there. And I kind of agree with that a little bit.
I think that's a fair point. I think last year was a little bit of lucky, or a little bit of luck. It takes a little bit of luck to go on a 11-game winning streak, whatever it was. So yeah, I think you're right, Big C. I think people saw that. They saw how high the expectations could be, and they said we're going to keep the expectations at the highest possible level, and we're going to continue that into this season, and we'll just continue that expectation through all the time. And CJ puts in the chat, Cincinnati sports have always had too high of expectations, Reds and Bengals. Maybe that's fair. I think there's a difference between wanting your team to win and being desperate, because I think right now the Reds and Bengals fandoms are desperate. I think both of them are. I think both want to see a championship really, really bad, and they haven't seen it in their lifetimes. The Reds saw one, 50 years ago or 30, 30 years now? 30 years? Has it been 30 years? 34 years. 34 years since the Reds' last World Series.
Yeah, it's tough.
So
29 years since the last time they advanced in the playoffs, right?
That's tough. And they're the only team since 2000. It's my favorite stat ever, and I'm going to keep saying it until it's not true They are the only MLB franchise to not advance in the postseason since the year 2000. Since the year 2000. You can't look at that and say, all right, the Castellinis know what they're doing. They've had a long track record. The Reds haven't been good for a long time now. They haven't. And what you saw last year is what you hope this franchise can become. And what hopefully it is. We're, again, May 7th. May 7th is not the time to overreact. The sky is falling. The world is ending. The Reds are not dead yet. Not yet. Give them a couple months, and then we'll see what happens. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you're finished,
Yeah.
if you're wrapped up, let's take the next 10 minutes to just talk about Joe Burrow here for a second.
What a trend. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think that the Reds are close to the Diamondbacks. I think those are very similar teams.
Okay.
I just wanted to say yesterday
There
you
we
said
go.
the Orioles were similar to the Reds. The Orioles are closer to the Braves than they are the Reds.
That's fair.
So,
All right.
awesome.
Thank you, Reed. But yeah, switching over to the Bengals real quick. We saw that reporter guy. I don't know his name. Should I name his name? Let's
No.
name his name. John Frisella. He started blocking Bengals fans yesterday. An absolutely outrageous tweet. He kept talking about his source. I don't know who his source is. And this is what happens when you get to the social media side of things in the year 2024, because everybody thinks they're a reporter. Everybody thinks they're breaking news. There's some people in this city that certainly believe they're that, and they're not. There's real report. Charlie Goldsmith, that's my guy. Any information, actual information I need, I go to Charlie Goldsmith at all times. There's other really good reporters in the city too. I don't need to name them all, but Charlie Goldsmith is the best reporter. This guy, John Frisella, no disrespect. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he came from, but this source was a liar. I mean, just a flat-out liar. I'm going to read the quote, and I'm going to read the community note that's been added to this, which is hilarious. So he tweeted out yesterday, we mentioned it on the show, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow's wrist will never be the same, quote, per discussion with my Cincinnati source this morning. Quote, Joe's surgery in L.A., was not in L.A., was not to fix his injury, but to make sure the bone grows correctly. Didn't have to do with the bone. Joe will always be at risk of injury because his bone, not a bone injury, has to grow back, and that could take 2 years, not a bone injury. His playing will be all off of risk. The community note added to this was absolutely hilarious. This is Elon's best function, by the way, to Twitter. And like if enough people put on the community things, they can edit somebody's tweet. This is what the community note now reads to that tweet. This person is lying for clicks and engagement. Joe Burrow did not break a bone. He tore a ligament in his wrist. There is no bone. There is no bone that needs to grow. Joe's surgery was done by world-renowned hand surgeon Dr. Tom Graham in Pennsylvania, not L.A. It's hard to quote your source and have that source be so incoherently wrong that you have to get bodied on Twitter. And he came out and he said yesterday, once the community note was added, he came out and said, I'm disgusted. I'm sick that this community note was going to do it. I think he kept saying haters. He said he blocked some people for being constant haters, and a number of them came back with burners that aren't even different from their main handle. So they hate, but they want my content. So they come back like terrible spies. This guy's a loser. I mean, I've never seen a bigger loser in my entire life. But the good news is, Casey, can we run the little clip? Can we run the little clip of Joe Burrow? And I know all Bengals fandom was happy to see this yesterday.
Oh, look at that flick of the wrist.
There was a lot of flick in that wrist. There was a lot of flick in it, and I didn't see any bone that needed to grow there. So that's the good news with that video. So not everybody's a reporter. The Bengals are going to be fine. Joey B at 100% is going to make the Cincinnati Bengals a top 5 team in the NFL. I'll say top 5. That's fair. I'm going to say top 5.
Yeah.
And if that's the case,
Contenders.
if that's the case, the Bengals are going to go to another AFC Championship game. Book it. The schedule's too easy. The schedule's too easy, Casey.
Yeah. Well, let's.
We
jump
still
over
play
to
in the
Reed.
AFC North. We still play in the AFC North. Let's not do the it's too easy because we still play
man.
the Ravens twice,
It's
Steelers
too
twice,
easy.
and Browns twice.
That's
all made the playoffs last year.
It's not what I was expecting from our positive Bengals fan in the room. Me being the more negative, realistic guy, I think. I think they have a really good shot of contending. Just kind of what Reed put out there. They do play in the AFC North right there. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Tough to compete in there. But, yeah, I mean, like I said at the top of the show, seeing Joe Burrow just throw like that and the flick of his wrist, like it looks fine. It looks normal, right? Everyone was so worried that it would be different, that he would be different, right? That's basically what the post was. It was basically fear engagement, right? It was basically getting people that are haters of the Bengals to jump on it and whatnot, and to publicize it, whereas more well-known Bengals community, they know that that's a bunch of garbage. So, yeah, I mean, I am very excited for Joe Burrow. Very excited.
Shout out to Joe Burrow because he made the Bengals something that they've never been before, and that's hateable.
Right.
He made us such a threat in the National Football League that other teams are constantly trying to tear down that blonde, handsome boy that wears number 9 for the Cincinnati Bengals. So, shout out to Joe. Shout out to Joe.
Shout out to Joseph. Listen, it's good to see. It's good to see him back throwing. Give me one healthy preseason, please. One healthy preseason. We get through it. We get to game 1, and everybody's good and healthy and happy. That's what I want.
That's what I want.
And that's what the Bengals will hopefully be. Hopefully. Casey, how much time do we have in this segment? I think we're running
Let's give it another couple minutes.
a couple minutes. You got to tell me. Because I just don't know the time. I came in here. I'm used to keeping my time, and I can't do it all. So I got this little time thing, and it's not working. Rita Rui, what time did you wake up this morning?
I woke up at 6:45.
That's early.
6:45. Went out to Clover Nook. Got out there about 8:30 and set that whole thing up for like an hour and a half and ran into a couple bugaboos. But we're good to go.
We're good. Vibes are good.
Vibes are okay.
Oh, no.
They're fine. The next few days will be fine.
That mean vibes are like bad, and he's on the show, so he has to say they're okay. So listen, 4 a.m. for PB. Nate says 6:45 is early. Yes, Nate, 6:45 is early.
We work a different life than you guys. We work normally. We work a lot of weekends. We work a lot of evenings. So we get the gratitude of normally coming in here around 9:30.
I also think isn't 9 like the normal time, 9 to 5? Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, but typically people that have kids and stuff like that got to wake up early.
Oh well, yeah. If you have
any
kids.
office job normally starts at 9, but every other job in the world starts at a different time.
Everett is asking, do you golf? You're wearing a Callaway hat. Do you golf?
I do not golf. I used to golf. I do not.
You said
golf
you were going to try to golf this weekend. You didn't golf this weekend?
Oh, no. It rained on Saturday. That was my only chance to golf. And
I golfed on Sunday. It was good. I don't proclaim to be a good golfer. I had a decent score, shot an 88. I think that's a great score. Reed thinks that's a bad golfer, but I think it's a great score. I felt great about it.
This just reminded me
of
that
take is being skewed in so many different ways.
What? You said that's what you said.
No, if you shoot 88, that's fine. That's good. If your best score on a public easy course is 86 and you play 20-plus rounds a year, you're a bad golfer. And that's your best score ever.
My best score is an 83, to be fair.
Okay.
I think that's pretty good.
I don't think that changes it.
I think that's pretty good. I don't think you're bad. I think that's Everett says wrong. This take we'll just never listen. We all have different opinions. That's what makes the world a great place. Some guys think 88's bad. Some guys think 88's good. I do not
think 88's bad.
I think you think 88's bad. I think that's what you think.
I do not think 88's bad at all.
Confirm it. What does Kermit think?
I don't know what you're talking about.
How'd you keep that Kermit voice for 4 straight minutes? That was pretty difficult.
I don't know. And I ran out of Kermit things to say, so I've got like 3 jokes.
You should have sang
Miss Piggy.
You should have sang the song. What's the song he sings? Rainbow Connection, isn't that it?
He sings. I don't know if you know anything about the Muppets. He sings a lot of songs.
Does Kermit sing multiple songs, or that he only sang the one song?
No, he sings quite a bit.
Every Muppet movie is a musical.
Yeah, but he's not the one exactly singing, right? Isn't that right?
He's the front of the show.
Are we sure?
Kermit sings a lot. Remember that Verbo commercial a couple years ago?
Yes, I do remember that.
Right where I belong.
Yes, I do remember that. John Cummings, is that the guy who voiced him?
I don't know.
We don't know. Casey? And it's time to break. That's what I thought. I had a gumption. Once I get towards the end, I kind of start rambling. That's it. We're going to break here on 1410 Wing AM, the best sports coverage in the Miami Valley. We'll be right back.
Yeah, let's jump into our ads here on the show. We're off the radio. Wanted to say quickly, because it reminded me when we got into the golf conversation, Inside Baseball,
Yeah.
a thing that we could do for a video.
Yeah.
Go to the Red Stadium and do the golf thing, the range.
Oh, I
They're-
don't want to pay money for that.
Yeah,
Like
but
$150.
no,
That's nonsense.
For what?
that thing.
$150 for
Isn't
the drive range at the Reds.
To do that stupid thing where they bring Top Golf to GABP.
It's pretty expensive, and you can't even hit I think all you can hit.
Can't
is
hit
like a
drivers,
nine-
yeah.
I think you just hit like wedges and 9 irons.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it would be a good idea, but that's
I think you have to do I think there's like a waiting list for it too. What is it?
I saw that the tickets were available on an ad, so I don't know.
I'm gonna look up the price. We're gonna do some ad reads. We're gonna look at some prices.
I'll let you look that up.
All right.
I'll get into these ads. The Reds Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and productivity. Path innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech. And let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. It uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com so where you can buy this great tasting water. I hope the audience really loves the ambient sloshing of this water.
I hope they do too. Because for me, my favorite part is the smoothness, and you can hear, how
and see.
smooth it is.
You see that?
Yeah.
Chat? Whew. Lovely bottle of water right there.
I'm
Pawnee
drinking
Water.
beautiful labelless water today,
Filled with Pawnee Water.
filled with Pawnee water. That's correct. By the way, $80 for this. $80, and you can only bring a pitching wedge, a 9 iron, and an 8 iron.
Well, like, it could be like just a fun 5-10 minute video, but that's a lot of money to spend on all this
$80, Casey, and that goes up to $100 depending on the time.
I remember being a kid and seeing like Sports Center clips of like people hitting drivers at AT&T Park, whatever, Oracle Park now, where the Giants play. And I'm like, dude, they're hitting so far. They're hitting it out of the stadium. Then you realize, like, oh, that's just a pitching wedge. Yeah. Like that's not that far at all.
I listen. I would consider doing it, Casey, but it's just I can go to the range and get the same experience.
Well, it's not about the experience necessarily of actually hitting. It's about going to the Red Stadium.
If I went there with a 9 iron, I'd try to cause chaos. What
if you hit the Toyota Tundra?
That's what I would try to do. I would try to hit the Toyota Tundra.
You win it, right?
I think
that's
so.
How that works.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
I think
Well,
that's
you have
how
to
it
hit the
works.
sign. You don't have to hit the car.
Well,
you have to hit the sign.
You hit the sign, and then one lucky fan wins it. So
Oh,
you don't
yeah,
even
that's
win.
Right.
So you want to hit the car in this one. You just want to get right, cut straight to
No,
the
I
chase.
want someone to get a Tundra.
All right.
Although it's a show truck, it's not a work truck.
Tundras?
Tundras,
Are you sure?
the new ones.
What about a Ram?
Ooh, 2024.
Yeah.
Whited out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a show truck. Speaking of work trucks, I didn't send Drew a picture, but I was using my work truck till about 11:30 p. last night.
Oh.
Helping my wife in her new store.
Is it open for business?
No, it opens in like September. But yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? That's what happens when you have a work truck, Drew.
That's
You're
true.
able to work
That's true.
all night long.
You're able to
Car
work
doesn't-
for your wife.
Yeah.
Till 11:30 and slave away.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on him calling Lowe's just like a weaker Home Depot?
Here's the thing about the Lowe's Home Depot debate.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. And I have just gone to a Lowe's because it's the closest one to my house. Home Depot would be an extra like 10 minutes. There's one in Bridgewater, but here, like, there's a Lowe's 5 minutes from my home. So I go to Lowe's. That's just a convenience thing.
Interesting.
It's just a convenience thing.
My dad has always been to Home Depot. I think I think my mom goes to Lowe's. I think my dad goes to Home Depot. My dad's a Home Depot manly man. He also sings in the Glee Club.
My father-in-law hates Lowe's. Hates them. So doesn't accept anything other than Home Depot.
Home Depot does tool rentals. That's nice. That's neat.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that new?
I got it. Well, I've always done tool rentals. So I've got to rent a stump grinder here soon. Got to get a tree stump out of my yard.
A stump grinder, huh?
Stump grinder.
How much does that cost to rent? How much are stump grinders renting out these days?
I don't know. Probably close to $75 for the day. I really have no idea.
What's the average price of a stump grinder?
Let's see.
I feel like that would be an expensive piece of equipment.
Let's see.
Everett says the West Side Hamilton Lowe's is a sad place.
A stump grinder costs $1,600.
Oh my God!
Brand new.
What?
Yeah,
But the rental, you can get one for, I don't know. It's not giving me a price.
The stump grinder is pretty heavy machinery. Like that's.
Yeah, you got to put it on a trailer. It's a whole ordeal.
All right. Well, I'm not a manly man. I don't work. So, the rental program at Home Depot is a great deal. He says.
It is.
If it works.
Are we on the fifth or the fourth or fifth segment?
I believe this is the fifth segment.
We got two segments.
Two segments because I got Kirby coming in at 11:15, roughly. So let's start this next one right now.
All right.
So he's gonna be the last segment?
Yes.
Just making sure. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Kirby will be the last segment. Welcome on into Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We are Chatterbox Sports. I am Elliot. He is Casey. Reed is also present in the room. Kermit maybe will make another appearance later on. Nick Kirby is here. Are we gonna do it now? Is that what we're gonna do? We're gonna call an audible. I think we can call an audible.
That's only if he's ready.
Only if Kirby's ready. If Kirby gives us, he's giving me a thumbs up. That's a new father of 3 now. I think he's a father of 3. He's a busy man. No time to waste. Let me get my thing out, and we'll start this interview. So we now welcome in extraordinaire superstar Reds personality Nick Kirby, father of 3, just had a child, but that's not stopping him from talking about the Cincinnati Reds. Nicholas, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Love you guys sitting on the same side when you're hosting today.
You like that?
It's a really cute look.
Thank you, Nick. I think it is cute. I told Casey last night, you know what? You don't need to sit in that big desk over there. You don't need it. We got all I need. I got the chicken here, I got Yoshi here, and I got a line of bobbleheads that half of them have been decapitated. That's what we've got on this side of the room, and that's what we're going to showcase. So, Nick, I brought you on, A, because I was desperate, B, because I need to talk about the Cincinnati Reds, and I need to do it with a more positive tone. Reed keeps telling me, Elliot, you're too negative. You need to be more like Kirby. You're complaining, you're crying, you're doing all these things. Try to be happy. Try to watch these games with a lighter tone. So that's why you're on, Nick. You're going to help walk me through this disaster of a season so far. Again, only 2 games under 500 in May. The Reds, obviously, they sent down Sam Moll yesterday. They optioned him down to AAA. I made the joke on Twitter. I was just making a joke. They should send him down to work on his hitting so he can come back and replace Bubba Thompson. But realistically speaking, this was the only option to make, yeah?
I mean, unless you wanted to cut someone, I understand that everyone wants the best 26-man roster at all times. Like, I think that sounds really great in theory, but you have to think back to September of last year when the Reds bullpen was just completely exhausted and how detrimental their overworked early in the year kind of worked against them. So I think this is more of a long-term move. I don't think you want to cut a guy like Buck Farmer. I know he's such an easy target, and he's actually pitched pretty well. But Buck Farmer also goes out and gives you like 2 innings at a time. He's always available. Like you never hear, Buck Farmer's got some sort of shoulder thing, he's not going to be available tonight. Buck Farmer, literally, anytime they ask him to take the ball, he takes the ball. There's some value to that in a really long baseball season. I was honestly surprised that Sam Moll pitched as well as he did in his 5 games when he got called up, because he had an ERA of like 7 down at AAA. His velocity was down. I watched a couple of his games when he was with Louisville, and he did not look like completely right. So I'm guessing they also are maybe trying to ease him back in as well. So, again, this is a long-term move. Sam Moll might be back next week when a reliever gets hurt. And what we saw with the position players, how quickly your depth can unravel on you. So this is more of a move just to keep some depth.
I agree with you. I don't think this was an overreaction. I think he will be back sooner rather than later. And I think you have Justin Wilson. If you didn't have Justin Wilson, you wouldn't have sent him down. But Justin Wilson's pitching great as of today. and you have a lefty, if he's not going to do the role of the Brent Suter, he's not going to go 3 innings at a time, it makes sense to send him down realistically. I would have looked at Lucas Sims. I think Lucas Sims is a decent pitcher. I think there are better options available. I think Tony Santillan down in AAA has pitched so well. I think he might have a shot at making this roster at some point this year. And Lucas Sims is a guy on my personal list. Him and Buck Farmer are the 2 guys I'd look to cut. Again, that's just my opinion. You can say whatever you want. Lucas Sims has been a Red for a long time, and he's been pretty good. Continuing on here, the offense has been terrible. I know you talked about it a little bit yesterday with Justin Kinner on 1410 Wing AM. At some point, you have to make a move, right? At some point, you can't continue to allow the same thing to happen again and again and again. And this series, I imagine, will be a big a test, as it were. TJ Friedl hopefully will come back very, very soon, and we'll see what it looks like with him instead of Bubba Thompson. But that still leaves the anchor of the lineup in Nick Martini, who plays way more than he should. I don't think Nick Martini, by all means, is a bad baseball player. He's a professional athlete. He gave the Reds a win on opening day. I think he's had some big hits last season. But saying that, he's looked uncompetitive for quite some time now. If you're Nick Kroll, if you're the front office, can't you be like, you know what? I'm going to sign somebody because it really can't get worse than Nick Martini. And I'm not saying Mike Ford was the guy to do it. I'm not saying Mike Ford was the savior of the world. But I think you can look back and say it's time for a change, right?
What free agents are out there that you would go sign right now?
I don't know. I would sign. I think there was a couple on my list here. A guy that I would pick personally would be you could bring. I mentioned the joke earlier. You could bring back Will Myers. Would a Will Myers reunion be fun? I just don't think it can get worse. If you go out and sign a free agent and he is worse, maybe I can be proven wrong. But I have a hard time believing there are free agents available that are worse than Nick Martini. That's just my point.
The thing you have to remember though is if you do go sign a free agent, they're just not going to jump right on the roster. I know the Mets signed J.D. Martinez after the season started. Yeah, and it took like 3 weeks for him to even get through basically like a extended spring training rehab type assignment. So
yeah,
I mean, if you say sign a free agent, it's not going to be an immediate impact. I mean, the best thing you do is look for a trade. But this time of the year, if you make a trade, you're going to be significantly overpaying. I know that the Padres made the move for Luis Arraez. I think that's how you say his name. I always screw it up.
Arraez, yeah.
But the Marlins, like their quote from their GM was, "We made this move because we thought we would not get this kind of deal later on." So they felt like the Padres significantly overpaid. So you're just kind of stuck. Usually you're stuck in a tough spot if you need additional help at the beginning of May. Usually it's really a tough spot until until you get closer to the trade deadline. But I mean, realistically, whether the Reds go out and sign a free agent, whether they called up someone like Peyton Burdick is down at AAA, he's okay. He's had some nice moments where they called up a guy like Connor Capel. Any of those guys aren't going to move the needle, really. The Reds need Christian Encarnacion Strand to hit. They need Jamer Candelario to hit. If those guys don't hit, it doesn't really matter. You're kind of rearranging the deck chairs. That's what the part of the lineup that's going to determine whether this offense picks up or not.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. You come into this season, and I made the point yesterday, there was an argument to be made that you didn't need a ton of free agent signings around the field because you have a position. Again, this is when we had Noelvi, when we had Matt McClain, but you had a position player at every single position and then some. You have Jonathan India off the bench; he can be utility. Now you're desperate. You need guys to perform, and they're not performing. I think it's a tough situation to be in if you're a Cincinnati Red. If you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, and you're watching this team continue to struggle. If you had to look at a guy like Will Benson in CES, does sending them down, because I keep seeing the send those guys down train, does that help anybody in this specific situation? The Reds are down bodies left and right. Does sending Will Benson and CES down to AAA help anybody?
I mean, I think the only way you would want to send either one of those guys down is if you just really thought that sending them down would be good for them individually. It's hard to see sending either one of those guys down actually being good for the Reds, just because those guys clearly have a much higher ceiling than anyone that would replace them. I don't even think it would be that close. In Will Benson's case, I don't think he's been as bad as maybe his overall numbers look. He's played against lefties too much. I've been a guy that said Will Benson's a platoon player, and he continues to prove that. Against right-handed pitching, he has a 703 OPS. So it's not as bad as maybe the overall numbers look. CES, it's been a struggle for him. He has had some injuries, some sickness, I think a little bit of everything in between. I was encouraged on Sunday. He had 2 hard-hit balls. He had one that was just brutal for an out right at the left fielder. I'm hoping that he can, pick it up. CES is a guy that when he's not going well, he's going to look really bad because he swings at everything. It's going to look way worse than maybe when a guy like Will Benson's going bad, because Will Benson does have pretty good plate discipline and can at least work some walks and have some competitive at-bats. When CES isn't going well, it's not going to even look competitive. So I'm hopeful that when CES figures it out, it just was like a switch, and you kind of go, how do you struggle for this long? And it kind of comes out of nowhere. But I mean, CES is still a guy that he's hit at every single level. He's figured it out. I'm really hopeful that he can figure it out because the Reds desperately need him to.
2 more questions before I let you go. You mentioned it earlier on before the year. You mentioned it on Chatterbox Reds. You mentioned it with Trace. You're telling Reds fans, temper your expectations. What you saw last year was exciting. It was great. It brought the energy back to this city. But at the same time, it's hard to ask every single prospect that comes up to the big leagues to be as good and consistent as they were last year. It's hard for that to happen. And this year, you're starting to see a little bit of not a crack, but it's early. It's really early. And you said temper those expectations. This isn't a 95-win team. This isn't a 90-win team. This is a team that can be competitive the whole year. That's what you said this was, and that's what I hope they still can be. At this point, I'm starting to lose a little bit of hope, just because I don't know if it's going to happen. But have I overestimated this team? Have I overestimated this team? Is this natural regression you're seeing from some of the offensive players we have? The Will Benson, the CES, Spencer Steers starting to slump a little bit. Is this natural? Is this a sophomore slump? What would you give this struggle to so far in this season? Again, only 2 games under 500.
I think it's a perfect combination of everything.
Yeah.
That there's some guys that have had that sophomore slump that you worry about. There's been guys that have been injured, obviously, like Noel Marte and Matt McClain haven't even played. And then you also just the biggest thing is you just have too many guys playing above their means, playing in positions they shouldn't be playing. And that has a cumulative effect. I'm hoping that TJ Friedl's activated tonight. I think he's a big puzzle piece that starts to move guys closer back into their roles that you expect. I don't think it's time to fully panic on the season. This pitching staff is really, really good. This starting rotation, every time the starters 1 through 5 take the ball, you have a chance to win on any given night. And there's a lot of teams across baseball that don't have that. In fact, as a Reds fan, we haven't had that very much at all in my lifetime. So that's going to really, I think, as the season goes on, it's going to help keep the Reds afloat, even when there's offensive struggles like this. At some point, though, look, the offense is going to come around. There's too many guys that their numbers are so bad that they're going to get closer to what their projections are, or what the back of their baseball card is, or whatever you want to say. Now, you might convince me one player is just completely washed and they're never gonna hit again, and that might be fair. But it's not 5 or 6 of these guys that are completely drastically below any reasonable expectation they had for them. They're going to eventually figure it out. The team that the Reds are playing in the Arizona Diamondbacks, the defending NL champs, they're 15-20 right now. Corbin Carroll has a .250 slugging percentage. You look up and down their lineup, they have a lot of guys that aren't performing to the level either. So it feels like it's dire with the Reds, but I do think a lot of this offense is going to get better, but the pitching is what's going to really, I think, keep them afloat.
I agree with you. I think the pitching staff has been incredible. I think the bullpen's been, for the most part, really, really good. If you had to give me one player, this is my final question for you, Nick. If you had to give me one player, I'm going to give you Candelario, I'm going to give you CES, I'm going to give you Will Benson. If you had to pick one of those guys, who's going to have the better season? Who's going to be the guy out of those three that when September 30th comes around, we're looking back and saying, remember when we freaked out about him on May 7th? Who's going to be the guy that performs the best at the end of the year, towards the end of the year?
I'm going to probably go with Candelario. I mean, just Candelario has a track record. Like, you know, I think CES has the highest ceiling out of those three. Will Benson does give you value in places other than just with the bat, but I do think Candelario will at the end of the year probably at least have respectable numbers. He has played a little bit better of late. I know our friend Sully had tweeted out, I think over the last 2 weeks, he does have like a 100 WRC plus, which certainly that's not anything to raise a banner or cause for celebration, but it might be a light at the end of the tunnel with Candelario. So I'd probably go with him out of those three. Can
you predict a series win, please? I asked Craig to come on. I asked Craig to come on the show last time, and he said they would lose to the Angels. He said they'd lose. Can you give me a series win here, please?
I think we're going to get a series win.
Let's go. Come on, Nick. Let's go.
You know, the Reds need to take one of these first two games, and they're tough. They're going to face Zach Gallen and Jordan Montgomery, but the Reds are at home. Take one of these two games, and then the Reds got Hunter Green against Slade Ciccone on a Thursday afternoon special. Hunter Green's going to get the job done. He's going to get the series win.
Thank you, Nick Kirby. Thank you for coming on. I need your positivity every once in a while to take me out of the darkness where I find myself pretty much every night regarding the Cincinnati Reds team. But thank you. Congratulations on your child. I don't think we on Off the Bench have congratulated you yet.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Nicholas.
Thank you, fellas. Appreciate it.
Have a good one, buddy. Thank you, buddy. That's it. Wing AM 1410. We got one last final segment. We got a buy or sell for you regarding the Cincinnati Redlegs. It's been an all-red show, and we'll continue it right up. See, now I've lost it, Casey. I was doing so good up until that point, and that was going to be a really good transition. And now it's over. I apologize, ESPN 1410. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chatterbox Sports. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I am Elliot Rearing. That is Casey McAllister. And over across the room, which if you're listening on the radio, you can't see him, his name is Reed Mouse, a.k.a. Kermit the Frog. Casey, I said I wanted to do a buy or sell today. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to have you read the buy or sell, and then I'll give the answer. If I think that works, I think it's a better flow, as it were.
Sure. Starting off, buy or sell.
By the way, your hat looks filthy. I think it needs a wash.
Well, it's a very old hat.
What year is that from?
I mean, it's probably early 2000s.
Are you against the Bengal head on the midfield? Do you think that's better than the Bengal B?
I don't know. The Bengal head might look a little cheesy too.
Do you? Do you think so? I don't hate the Bengal head, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Bengal head actually looks solid as well. I don't think you could go wrong, for what it's worth.
I know we do a lot of nothing burgers on here in the essence of a sports talk show. I could care less what's on the center of Paycor Stadium.
A lot of people care. A lot of the casuals care, Reed.
On the 50-yard line, I don't care what emblem you put, as long as between the 53 yards where they actually play the 100 yards by 100 yards and 53, as long as about half the game there is Joe Burrow on the field, I don't care what's in the center of the field.
That's fair. Buy or sell?
Buy or sell. Let me hit the buttons again.
Buy. Sell.
Buy or sell Reds edition.
Ooh.
Will Benson has been the most disappointing player this year so far.
I think obviously Noelvi Marte is my most disappointing player because he did steroids and he's unavailable to play. But looking back at the players who can play, I'd say, I think Will Benson, for me, has been the most disappointing. I expected him. I thought he could be an everyday outfielder. I thought he could face left-handed pitching. Nick Kirby is right. He has not been good against lefties whatsoever. And for me personally, I saw it on Friday and Saturday. I was watching him come up to the plate and also walking back to the dugout after several strikeouts. His body language doesn't look like someone who's having a fun time right now. And I know when you're struggling, it's hard to just be like, hey, buddy, why don't you smile? But to me personally, he doesn't look like he's all there mentally right now. I need him to get back in a right headspace. That's what we need out of Will Benson. So yeah, I do think so. For me personally, he's a guy I was really high on, and defensively he's been very good. Just offensively, he's just been disappointing.
And this isn't like obviously his first time getting into one of these slumps. I mean, this is the second time, and you would hope to have it not happen in back-to-back years. Basically, a year. It's been a year, almost exactly a year since the last time he had this slump, and it took him going back down to AAA and then coming back up. We can't afford for him to do that, so it is disappointing. He was one of my top players, Matt McClain being my favorite, and he was probably right there as my second favorite player. I love betting his doubles early on in the season. It just felt like he was a machine, and now he's lost it, so it is kind of disappointing. I would say I would buy that, honestly. I think
Buy.
According to WAR, there are 6 players worse than Will Benson on the team right now.
Yeah, true. But I had a higher expectation for Willie.
Jamir Candelario is significantly below him, and Christian Encarnacion Strand, shout out to him. He's almost a full -1 WAR.
Yeah, that's tough.
How is there anybody a full -1 WAR yet this season? A month in?
I'll let you know. I'll look it up.
We'll go to the next one though.
We'll go to the next one. Buy or sell. This is a must-win series against Arizona.
Ooh, a must-win or can't lose. I'm going to buy it as well. I think you have to show some life. You have to show some fight. And if you're going to fight, it's going to be this series against a team that hasn't been all that great this year. You talk about a gauntlet of the schedule. This was your break. The Diamondbacks at home with a pitching staff that hasn't been solid and a lineup that hasn't exceeded expectations by any means. This is a team you can beat. If you're the Cincinnati Reds, you look at this series, you say, all right, we don't have to score 15 runs a game. Let's show a little bit of life offensively. Let's continue how good we've been pitching-wise, and we take this series. For me personally, I think it's a must-win. I do. You can't lose this series and then go into who we got next. So you lose this series, and then we go into San Francisco on the road, then Arizona on the road, then the Dodgers on the road. It's a 10-game road trip out west. I'd like to win it at home before we go out there, please.
I'm going to steal one of your things.
Ooh.
Just don't get swept.
Don't get swept.
Don't get swept. That's, like I said at the top, and like you just mentioned, show some sign of life on offense. Just be able to hit the ball. I mean, how long was that streak of no runs? It was like 20 something, 20 innings.
Got to 21 innings, I think, maybe.
You can't afford to do that again. That's just unacceptable. This team is better than that. Personally, I'm hoping for better play out of pretty much everyone. Ellie, Steer.
I agree with you.
Benson. I really hope Friedel can come back here soon. I mean, they desperately need to play offensively much better this week.
And that's what I think they will do. So you're not? Are you buying? Is that official buy?
That's a buy.
That's a buy. Buy. That's a buy. Next,
buy or sell.
Ooh,
the Reds bullpen is elite.
I don't know if it's elite, but I would say I was concerned coming into this year that the bullpen maybe was a flash in the pan bullpen last year, and they were going to get worse. They have not gotten worse. This is a solid bullpen. It's not the world's best bullpen. We don't have the juggernaut that is the Braves bullpen. But we do have a decent lineup of guys that can go out there on a night-in, night-out basis and pitch well. We have 2 guys, and Brent Suter and Nick Martinez, that can go 3 innings at a time, 3 1/3 innings at a time. And you look at that and you say, all right, they've been pretty damn good out of the pen. Emilio Pagan has struggled. You could say Lucas Sims has struggled. And Alexis Diaz, obviously, since probably around June last year, hasn't been the closer we all dreamed he would be. He's been a solid player, though. There's not too many guys on this team that I don't trust anymore. I don't really trust Buck Farmer, who does have a 3 ERA. I don't really trust Lucas Sims, who walks a lot of batters. Those are about the only 2 guys I don't really trust anymore. Even Emilio Pagan, I still somewhat trust him. I think he's a good player. He'll figure it out eventually.
Here's the thing about the elite conversation. Last year, we all knew that it was just basically our starting pitching that was a disaster, right? This year, I mean, we solved that issue for the most part. At least if you're looking at it from a statistical manner. Andrew Abbott, 3.3 ERA. Hunter Green, 3.1. Ashcraft 3.6, Lodolo 2.7. I mean that is great starting pitching right there.
Elite starting pitching.
That is fantastic. And the bullpen, I mean, it's not even fully healthy without Ian Gibaut, right?
That's right.
So I mean,
the great godson of Princess Diana.
And we just literally sent a guy down with a 0 ERA.
That's true.
I think that this pitching staff is pretty darn good.
I agree.
The Reds bullpen currently ranks 19th in the MLB in ERA.
Oh, this is a bullpen question. My mistake. I thought this was just pitching staff question.
Bullpen.
I
don't think they're elite to answer. So I'm going to sell it, by the way. I don't think they're elite. I do think they're pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think they're good in the sense of like that ERA is fluffed a little bit. And I know you could probably say the same for a lot of different teams across the league, but I mean, we just gave up a grand slam. Alexis Diaz has like one really bad closing game where it's just like we were already out of it. Like, I think talent-wise, we are elite. But in terms of performance so far this year, I don't know if I can say it's been elite.
Yeah, I'm selling. Wait, that's 2 sells.
All right. Moving on to the next one. Buy or sell, Candelario will be better.
Yeah, Nick Kirby I brought Nick Kirby on specifically for Candelario because I was hoping he would say it. Candelario cannot be this bad throughout the entire year. I don't understand really what's been going on because you saw it during spring training. He wasn't competitive there. He really hasn't been competitive this season. He's been able to draw walks. He's been able to get on base. He's been able to put the ball in play. He has to be better. He's going to be better. It's impossible for him to continue to be this bad. I don't think this is a Mike Moustakas type of contract. I don't think we're going to be calling him Fat Candelario by the end of his tenure here. We call him Fat Moose for a reason. He put on a lot of weight, and he couldn't run the bases. And also he sucked, respectfully. I say that with love and respect. A lot of guys don't think I respect people. I respect Moose. He was fat and he sucked, but I love him and I respect him. As of right now for Candelario, yeah, he's going to be better. This is not the finished product. This is not what you will see at the end of the season. He will be at least a 250 hitter. His OBP will be at least 335, 340. I'm not saying that's the world's best player, but he's not going to be this bad. So I'm going to say bye. Bye.
I'm just looking at – I've never really looked at his career stats. I don't know why we think that he'll be a 250 hitter. I mean, he's been so up and down, and he's due for a down season. In all honesty, his last season with Detroit back in 2022, he was hitting 210, 220. And
last year, what did he hit?
Last year, he was, a 240, 250 hitter?
He had an OPS plus of 120 last year.
Yeah, but, I mean, like I said, it looks like he's due for a season of regression, in my opinion. So I'm going to sell this.
Oh, no.
I think you get to a certain point in your career – you're 30. You're getting banged up. I don't know. And the Reds just don't have good luck with free agents, so that just makes me feel like he's not going to turn things around. So, I mean, I hate saying that. I don't want to be the negative fan here, but that's just what my gut is telling me.
If that's the case and the Reds miss on another free agent bat, I will be very sad. I will be very distraught. But that's Nick Kroll. #GetCrawled. Next up, Casey.
Next up. Buy or sell, the Reds will get through this tough stretch of ball games. It's west. It's out west.
I don't know if I'm going to buy it. And when I say the Reds will survive this tough stretch, obviously that's maintaining the expectations of that what Nick Kirby had, what Trace Fowler said. 3 games below 500 or 2 games below 500 throughout this month. I don't know. I don't know. If they continue to hit like this, it's impossible to think that. It's literally impossible to be only 2 games under 500 if your offense continues to be statistically the worst in baseball in pretty much every category. In every category. The average is dipping, and it's falling fast, quickly. And if you're not an average guy, they don't hit for a ton of power either. Elly De La Cruz is the only guy hitting for power. He's got 8 home runs. So, yeah, I don't know. Will they survive this stretch? And when I say survive, I mean meet that expectation. No, I don't think they will. Maybe that's the negative. Maybe that's the pessimist in me. But I have a hard time believing, given the current state of the offense, they're going to be able to survive this trip out west and then come back at home and face the same teams out west that they just had. They go Arizona at home, San Francisco, Arizona on the road, Dodgers on the road, San Diego at home, Dodgers at home. That's just a gauntlet. It's just a gauntlet. So I'm going to say no, unfortunately. I think they're going to be worse than 3 games under 500. I think they're probably be around 5, 6, 7 games under 500 by the time this month ends.
Will they survive through the stretch? I think, to be honest with you, I do think that they'll survive through the stretch. And I know I was very negative the last buy or sell here about Candelario. But I think that the Reds are going to turn things around this week. I really do. They have to. They have to against the Diamondbacks at home. You should be able to get some offense going. They play them twice, right?
Yep.
I know it's out west. I know we don't play well out west. But they're going to have opportunities to turn this offense around just in time for teams like the Dodgers, to where if you are getting going offensively, I think you can manage to scoot by and stay relatively close to 500 throughout this tough stretch in May. I'm not predicting them to be above 500, but I can see them being 3, 4, maybe even 5 games below 500 and still be fine.
They'll be all right, guys. Listen, nothing's ever as bad as it seems. Nothing's ever as
what
good
if
as it seems.
they're 10 games under 500 by the time
every team goes through stretches like this. The Los Angeles Dodgers lost 8 of 10 games this year.
Right.
This year. That happened. So, every team goes through stretches like this, and they will weather. There will be a time, I'm telling you right now, there will be a time in the next 45 days where we will be talking, is this team a contender in the National League? We will be doing that.
Do you promise?
We will be doing that. Can this team get beat? There's just times where you feel like you can't win a game, and there's times where you feel like you can't lose a game. And unfortunately, you're in the valley, not the peak. We're trying to eliminate those here in Cincinnati.
Casey, we got one more, and I want Reed to answer this one.
You want Reed to answer this one?
Yeah.
I love it.
Buy,
I have an answer for the question that you asked me earlier.
Buy or sell? The Reds are better than the Pirates.
According to the current standings in the MLB, they are not, right?
No,
they are not.
They lost third place last night.
Yep. So I'll sell. I'll say that the Pirates are better. I've been told for a month now, hey, the Pirates stink, the Pirates suck, and here we are about a month into the season, and the Pirates are better than the Reds. So yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say the Reds are better than the Pirates. I'm buying.
Okay.
Casey?
Like I said, both teams are doing things similarly. There's no way that both these lineups are that bad. There's no way that both these lineups are that bad. So
that's fair. Sir Boy, a good chat. Eugenio Suarez is definitely going to hit a home run tonight. That's a fact. Casey, are the Pirates better than the Reds? Or the Reds better than the Pirates?
Reds are better than Pirates.
Thank you. I agree.
I have the answer. You asked me, is anyone
-1?
-1. There's one player, according to Fangraphs.
Really?
One player's already hit -1. And 2 are very close. So CES on Fangraphs war is -0.7.
Okay.
Tell me if these names sound like someone that Reds fans have clamored for in recent years.
Oh no.
Close is Nick Castellanos. He's the 3rd worst WAR in the MLB.
Okay.
2nd worst WAR in the MLB is Andrew Benintendi.
Really?
Oh yeah. And then the worst is Jose Abreu.
Jose Abreu sent down.
Sub 1.
Damn, that's
-1.
brutal. How about that? Jose Abreu sent down as well. I wonder if Alek Manoah will hit -1 before they send him back down. Poor Alek Manoah. Man, nobody's career fell off faster than that guy. Pitch clock ruined that guy's career. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. But CES climbing the ladder to be the worst WAR in baseball. We'll see if he gets there tonight when the Reds take on the Diamondbacks. Hopefully I'll be in attendance. Hopefully the game doesn't get rained out. But I'm not an optimist, so I'll say it's rained out. Or at least they'll delay it for no reason whatsoever. But Casey, what a show we had.
Yeah, we made it through.
How about that?
And we're going to have another great one tomorrow.
That's right. Me and Casey Rue. And Rita Rue. Rita Rue came in to save the day at the end with Kermit the Frog. Thank you guys for listening on the radio, ESPN Dayton. Thank you very much. Check us out on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports, Off the Bench. We'll be back tomorrow morning, better than ever, or I guess for those on the radio, tomorrow afternoon, better than ever. Presented by United Dairy Farmers. God bless everybody, and have a great day, Tuesday. And we're off. We're off the air.
One thing really quickly. Lindsay's in the chat.
I saw
Lindsay, congratulations!
Congrats,
She
Lindsay.
just graduated.
She just
Congratulations on the graduations.
That's right. And on top of that, those that are still here with us for this show on YouTube, I think we're going to have the Brenneman on.
That's good. I hope so.
I reached out to Tom. He said he was going to ask Marty, see what he was up to. I know Tom is kind of busy. So it's not been confirmed, but he does know. He's going to reach out. He's going to see if they can do it. So,
well, if they can't, I'm going to have to go. Maybe we'll bring back Craig tomorrow. I've been trying to get my Reds guys, my guy Clay, unavailable due to the work week. So I'm going to try to ask Bryce as well, Bryce Spalding, Reds superstar. And then we also have I'm debating reaching out to the Cubs fan from the Enquirer.
Ew.
I'm debating reaching out to him.
My favorite tweets are his press box wag.
Yeah, you like that?
I tweet every time I see a press box wag tweet. I tweet him back. That's good press box wag.
I still don't even understand what wag means.
I
don't get it.
He says press box wag. Whatever was said, that's good. That's good. Press
What is
box
wag? What is that? What is
Good
that?
press box. Hey, we're off air. You know what that means? Backwards hat.
Oh!
Loosen it up. Loosen it up. Guys, can I tell you a revelation that I had? So I'm going to Denver for my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank
happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you. And our Stars are playing the Avalanche.
That's correct.
Oh no, are you gonna go?
They don't. I was so ecstatic when I realized that. I was like, oh wait, like I could go to a Dallas Stars playoff game, and then I'll be back before the first game that is played in Denver, which is Saturday, and I'll be back before that.
So disappointing.
So disappointed I don't get to see Casey's natural disasters or whatever that stupid thing he says every time they're brought up.
You know that is literally just something I came up with on the spot. That's not what they say.
Very clever.
It's not what they say at all, but
Very
I think
clever.
I think it's funny.
Who do you think the third best player on the Avalanche is?
I love when you do this.
I think it's hilarious. It makes me laugh.
You know, I couldn't.
because you could
quite-
do it with me too. You could do it to me with the Bengals, and I just don't know.
Well, we did it last week. You said I love, and we were talking about music, and you're like, I love NWA. And I was like,
you're
oh
right.
yeah,
You're right.
And I was like, oh yeah, what's your favorite? And like, it literally couldn't come up with a single NWA song.
Yeah, listen, I can't say a song that I like now, but they didn't come to me right away. I know the next time I say I like NWA, I'll have a couple songs in the chamber ready to go. But obviously, yeah, I do the same exact thing, Casey. I don't know.
Well,
You have an answer for me now?
Casey Middlestat,
Yeah, Casey Middlestat.
just because his first name's Casey.
Yeah, I haven't thought about the Avalanche without thinking about Casey Middlestat.
Yeah, neither have I.
Hockey's the one thing where I don't know how people. I can't name 5 hockey players. I don't think.
I can't either.
I can't.
In the world?
but-
In the world?
I don't think so, dude.
Not-
Not current. Not current.
Yeah, definitely not current.
I don't think I got 5 in me. I just don't know anybody. Does Alex Ovechkin still play?
I don't know if Ovi still plays. I think he still plays. I think Sid and Ovi still play.
Okay, Sidney Crosby.
Connor McDavid's the stud.
Connor
Connor McDavid is the best.
Is he still in Chicago, or did they get rid of him?
He's for Edmonton.
Edmonton now.
Was he ever on Chicago?
Who was the young guy in Chicago?
See, this is where my ignorance. I know they just got a big guy, but I wasn't.
To be fair, if you just named any like sort of Russian-sounding name
Yeah.
or Canadian,
Yeah.
French-Canadian name, it would
Yeah.
probably be spot on.
If I said
Bedard. That's who the Bulls got, or the Bulls, the Blackhawks.
if I said Steve Popowski played for the Chicago Redhawks, would you believe me? Or Chicago Blackhawks, would you believe me?
Yes, I would. But that is one thing I like.
Doesn't Wazowski play for the Avalanche?
Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
Bedard, I have heard of Bedard.
Does Mike Wazowski play for the Avalanche still?
No.
No.
Mike
He's
I
still,
guess
Wazowski?
I guess
he's still
he
working at
moved
Monsters
on.
Inc.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't. You know, that's one of those early cartoon for kids. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Monsters,
in a really
Inc?
long. I've rewatched the movie Cars like 100 times, but I haven't rewatched that one. There was a take Reed had, and I meant to bring it in today, and I forgot it, and I was going to debunk it.
I had a take.
Yeah, you had a take, and I was going to debunk it, and
Was it about the Orioles?
No, it wasn't about baseball. And now I'll just never remember it, and that's gone into the void.
Was it about popular culture?
It was about pop culture, and I forget which one.
We brought up Met Gala on the show. Did you see any of the Met Gala stuff?
No, I remember a couple of years ago, my family went into a tizzy. My wife's family went into a tizzy because the Met Gala theme was Catholicism.
What?
Yeah, like they have a theme every year for what they
It was
wore.
Catholicism?
Yeah, so they all showed up
okay.
like looking like bishops and popes and stuff
No
like that.
way, dude.
Yeah. What
That's
year was
wild.
that? What was the actual? It had a better name than Catholicism. Met Gala Catholicism.
That's wild. Maybe it was just religious.
It was 2018.
That's outrageous.
That is quite honestly, but like
It was Heavenly Bodies is what was the theme. Go look it up. Like
I'm looking at it now. It's,
like what's his name? The Black Panther actor. I forget his name off the top of my head. But
Chadwick.
yeah, Chadwick Boseman showed up. Yeah, go look at his. He looks like the Pope.
yeah, Ben Simmons with the giant clock. But that is wild. I didn't really. The only reason I brought it up today was because I thought it was really interesting, that mechanical dress that they wore.
What was the theme?
Not a single clue, Reed. I mean, I just found out that there was a theme.
Met Gala theme 2024
This is
was
wild.
Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion.
I don't know how any of those dresses resembled a Sleeping Beauty, but hey, I mean,
So, do they get like paid to be here, or is this they show up for fun?
It's I don't know if it's a fashion show or if it's an art thing. I think it's an art thing.
is it open invitation?
And no, you gotta get invited, and it's just a way to be rich. It's just show off. I am famous enough to get invited here.
Yeah.
The wife not very happy with what's her name? Ariana Grande. Her dress not good. Wasn't fashionable enough.
I know what take you had now.
Sling it.
Sorry.
Sling it
and
my
by
way,
the
Big
way,
Papa.
Ariana Grande, I like Ariana Grande. Nice person. Very nice person. I think she cheated on her last husband. Unfaithful.
She's never been married. Sling it my way, Big Pimpin'.
Yeah, she was. She was married.
She
You're
was
wrong
married?
about Yes, you were wrong about that. You're wrong about that.
So
Well,
she got
regardless.
engaged to Pete Davidson, and then she got married after that.
Dalton Gomez, married for 3 years.
No, really.
Cheated on him with the SpongeBob guy.
Nice.
Guy who plays SpongeBob on Broadway. I was rewatching Game of Thrones a little bit last night.
Oh, you're gonna make fun of my season 5 take?
No,
Is
your
that-
season 6 take. Your seasons. I forgot there was. So there's a couple really good episodes
What's
there.
my season 6 take? Before
Your season
you debunk
6
it?
take is that it's not as good as season 4. I think season 6 might be better than season
You
4.
say season 4 is the greatest season of all time.
Yeah, I might be wrong on that though. Because season six, what happened at the end of season 5, leading into season 6, there's some phenomenal episodes there.
In season 5?
Season 6.
Yeah, season 6 is great. Yeah, I'm not denying that. It's not better than season 4.
I think there's a chance it could be better than season 4 though.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
My point is that I don't think it's on the downward trajectory. I think if Casey continued to watch, and obviously you've stopped.
I have not. So here's the thing. I watch it with my wife because we love to watch it together.
Sure.
And we have shows that we vow not to watch separately, right?
Sure.
She's been busy and or too tired or not interested in
So
it.
you'll never watch it again.
No, that's not the case. I'll probably get her to watch it. No, I won't be able to get her to watch it tonight.
That's a
'Cause
real shame.
that's
Season 4 is the greatest, but I do think.
So if it's the
that's-
greatest,
but I do think.
if it's the best the show gets,
But-
then you're on a down slope.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know
it's-
if you know how
but
elevation works.
it's like a little baby slope, like a little baby.
So you can say like it can be like a plateau, right?
Yeah,
it dips
like
down, then it
you want to
plateaus
avoid,
back to
the
top
peaks
again.
and the valleys. That's what Nick Kroll said. But Reed, I forgot the episode called "The Door" was in that season 6.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Yeah.
Great. Wish it meant something at the end, but it was a great episode. Looking back at it last night, rewatching some of it. So yeah, I'm all in on season 6. Shout out to season 6 of Game of Thrones. What a show! What a storied show.
I mean, I was literally this close last night to putting it on because I'm like dying to watch it.
Yeah,
It's just tough.
it is tough.
It's tough. I wanna get to this season 6 that everyone's talking about here.
You got to. Can we do a clip flash for the members today? I think that would be fun. Do you want to do a clip flash for the members?
Sure. I naturally assumed we weren't going to do it because we just did a 2-hour thing. But
Yeah,
we
but
can
that's
just do
yeah.
Quiplash.
Well, you gotta give them something. We gotta give the people something. I want to play some Quiplash. I haven't won in quite some time. Again, if you're not a member, we play this very funny game. Mark wins it every time. But if you'd like to challenge Mark, we're gonna do that in about 10 minutes. Come back at 12 for Quiplash. We gotta send this audio over to the radio. Which, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if that's going to the radio because I think Justin's with Trace, right? I think they're at that golf course or whatever they said. So we don't even know if that's going over the air. That would be hilarious. That would be absolutely outrageous if they're not if they're together and that's not going over the radio today. But if it is, nonetheless, we're going to send it to them and we're going to figure it out.
So when do the Reds play the Dodgers? Is that this weekend?
They play the Dodgers
or just
weekend.
over when they go out west next week.
Next weekend.
So I was just on Baseball Reference today, and listen to this. These are the hitting leaders on almost every statistical category. Is Mookie Betts or Shohei Ohtani? Like the WAR leader, Mookie Betts, offensive WAR, Mookie Betts, batting average, Shohei Ohtani, on base percentage, Mookie Betts, slugging percentage, Shohei Ohtani, OPS, Shohei Ohtani, runs scored, hits, total bases, doubles, all Shohei, home runs, Shohei, base on balls, Mookie Betts. It's incredible that those two players play on the same team.
It's outrageous.
And they don't even have the best record in the National League.
Not yet. They will, though.
You think so? Think they're
If
better
you
than the
had to
Braves?
bet, would you bet on the Dodgers to have the best record in the National League? Right now, on this day?
Who has the best record in the MLB or in the National League? You know?
I imagine it would be the Braves.
It's the Phillies.
Really?
It's the Phillies.
Braves are game and a half back?
Braves are far back.
Really?
3 games back. The Phillies are 25-11 right now. The Braves are 3 games back.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
All right, so we'll end the show. We're going to do Quiplash here in a little bit. We're going to send that audio over to ESPN, and then we'll be back. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. We'll have another fun show tomorrow. It'll be wild. I'll need the chat's help again. Thank you all for calling in. Thank you all for watching. I mean that sincerely. Casey?
I just have one thing.
Yeah.
There's more Joe Burrow footage.
Ooh! Let's show it.
More Joe Burrow footage.
Let's
I'm going to
show
show it off.
Let's show it.
Because it does kind of reveal a little bit of what
Joe Burrow
Bengals
will
are
be
going to work
speaking
on.
at 12:15 as well today.
Ooh.
You'll
So
speaking to the
I'll be
media.
paying attention to that while you guys do some.
All right, I'm taking off, by the way. I got to go run to the store.
Oh. Goodbye, Reed. Goodbye, Reed.
Show me.
All right, here we go.
Never forget when Paul laughed when Joe Burrow got hurt.
I'll never forget it.
Golly!
That was
He's slinging that thing.
That was at least 95 yards. Get it
Apparently,
over?
that was in stride for Trenton Irwin for a touchdown.
Really?
That bone's healing great.
That bone is healing great.
Wasn't a bone injury. That was my favorite part.
And there's some other stuff too, but one
That's
is
it.
good enough.
That's it. We'll show some of it off tomorrow. We'll have some Joe Burrow audio tomorrow. Hopefully we have a Brenneman on tomorrow. We'll see you then. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. God bless.